Hi everyone, in today's video I'm going to be showing you how to make the free in the hoop zipper bag project that you can get from Creative Kiwi. I'll put the name on the screen. If you go to their website and look in their free designs, you will find the lace zipper bag. I'm not going to be using a lace zipper, but I am going to make the project. So I'll just put a picture on the screen showing what the project looks like on their website. And as you can see, they're using a lace zipper, which is used as a decorative element. So the zipper is on top of the fabric. I'm going to be just using a regular zipper, but still utilise the free in the hoop project. So the fabrics that I'm going to be using, I've got a cream coloured zip. It's bigger than a need, but I prefer to use a bigger zip because we cut it down once the project's complete anyway. I'm going to be using some fabric that I've had for ages in my fabric stash. This is all like sewing notions, and all the instructions tell you what to do, so I've prepared the fabric already. So this is going to be the top of my bag. The pattern also tells you that you can use wadding in your fabrics. I don't necessarily think the fabric I'm using on the bottom of my bag needs it because it's like a thick kind of canvas, but I am going to use the wadding in the front, but I'm not going to put any extra wadding in the rest of the bag. The bottom of my bag is going to be plain black. And again, I've prepared and ironed my fabric. And then these are the back pieces. Now, what I am going to do, but in another video, is decorate the front of this bag using heat transfer vinyl. And because my fabric has got these kind of yellowy goldy colours, I'm going to be using gold glitter heat transfer vinyl, but that is going to be the next video after this. So in this video I'm going to show you how to stitch out the project, and then in the following video I'm going to show you me creating the heat transfer vinyl design, sending it over to the ScanNCut machine, and how I'm going to cut it and apply it to the front of this bag. So make sure you subscribe to the channel and that you're following my blog, and then you'll not miss out when I upload that other video. I've already hooped my 8x12 hoop with tearaway stabiliser. Now this design says it's for a 5x7 hoop, so if you've got a 5x7 hoop or bigger, you should be able to make this project. So I'm just going to flick you over to the machine and tell you how I'm going to adapt this free stitch pattern. So I'm over at the machine. I've got my USB stick plugged into my machine already, and I just need to call up my design. So I'm going to go into Embroidery. I'm going to call up the USB stick, and I'm just going to scroll until I find the pattern. I think it's this one. And I'm going to click Embroidery, and that's going to put the design into the middle of my hoop. I'm not bothered about moving it. As I say, I'm using a lot bigger hoop than you need for the design. There are 9 steps to this embroidery. It's a nice simple one, and you can see all the colour stops and everything here, but hopefully in today's video you'll be able to see how I stitch it out. So the first thing I'm going to do, I'm just going to thread up my machine. I've already got my bobbin fill in. I'm just going to use, I think I'll use black thread on this one, and I've got a white in my bobbin fill. So I'm using Isocord 40 in black as the main. So I'm just going to put the foot down on the machine and thread the needle. And then I'm going to stitch out step 1. Okay, so if this stitch file does come with a set of PDF instructions that's nice and easy to follow as well. And this is where it tells you to put your first lot of fabric, but I'm going to put my zip down because, as I say, I'm using a regular zip. I'm using a number 3. Actually, this might be a number 5. I'm just going to position it so it's well past the foot on either end. And I want my zip to open from left to right, so I'm putting the zipper pull up at the top. Now, I'm going to tape it down because I'm also going to be putting my fabrics down, which is what step 1 is on this project. So I want to try and hold the zipper in place at the same time. Now, it tells you to get your top fabric and position it with the fold inwards, and to also put your wadding in if you're using it. So I've got a piece of wadding here which I'm just going to sandwich into the middle of this fabric, and it tells you to line up the fold of your fabric just beyond the stitch line. So I know that the stitch line is here, but what I'm going to do, I'm just going to put my fabric right nearly close up to the zipper teeth. You want to make sure that your fabric extends beyond the outside of the stitch lines. So I'm going to put the foot down and I'm going to sew the next step. So that step really is to hold down your top fabric, but as I say, because I'm using a regular zip, I also wanted to use it to not only hold the fabric down, but to hold the zipper in place. So now I'm going to do the next step. So again, I'm going to put the foot down, and this is going to sew the top area. Okay, so the next step is to apply the bottom piece of fabric, and you have to do the same. It tells you if you're going to use wadding to insert your batting or wadding at this step. So again, I'm just going to put my piece of batting in just up close to the seam, and I'm going to position this in place, making sure that my fabric extends beyond the outside of the stitch line, and I'm going to position it up towards the zip. So I can see my stitch line here. I can scoot this over a little bit. I don't want it going over the zipper teeth, but I want it, you know, pretty close to them. So I'm going to put the foot down and stitch the next line, which will be this line along here, to anchor this in place. So again, like the top, it now needs to sew the rest of this half of the fabric. So I'm going to go on to the next step. Okay, so the next 2 steps would be where you would normally put your lace zipper and it would sew it down. Now I could skip these 2 steps on my machine, but just for the sake of the video, in case you have got a lace zipper and you're not doing it the way I'm doing it, I'll stitch them out. So again, I'll just put the foot down and press start, and basically it's just going to sew a straight line. And that would be your straight line for holding your zipper down. So I've effectively got 2 lines of stitching there now, which look nice because they are ever so slightly separated. So it's going to do the same on this side. So this would be the stitch that would hold your lace zipper in place if you were using a lace zipper as a decorative element, which I'm not. But I want to show you how you can utilise this free pattern and still make this project. Okay, so we're on step 8 and there's only 9 steps, so we've got 2 more steps. So I'm just going to remove the masking tape because I don't need it anymore and I want to get to my zip. Now you're going to put your front piece of fabric, or a top piece of fabric that's going to cover the whole of this stitching area, and it's going to completely seal it. So you must open your zip at this point, no matter whether you're using a zip like I'm using underneath or whether you're using the decorative lace zip, you must open it. So this is why I just wanted to remove the masking tape so I can get hold of the zip. And I've not had to remove any of this at all out of the hoop. You can do if you want, but this is such a simple project. You can just stitch it. Now I normally like to leave like a finger's width past the end of my zip, so I've got all this as it will be an opening to turn the bag when I come to turn it. I also like to point my zipper pull inwards so there's no chance of it hitting the foot as it's on its way round. And now I'm going to bring in my next piece of fabric and completely cover everything. So I know that this is bigger than I need. It covers all the stitch lines. I've got my zip open and I'm just going to stitch step 8. Okay, so it's done 2 rounds of stitching around the whole outside of the bag, so we know the bag is going to be nice and secure. I'm just going to remove it from the machine. I'm not taking it out of the hoop, I'm just bringing the whole hoop out of the machine. So this hoop is so big that it won't all fit in this screen, but basically this is as it's just come out of the machine. So I'm going to flip the hoop over so that I can see the back of the hoop. And now just need to do exactly the same. You can see where this bag is, you can see all the stitch lines, and you just need to place your back piece of fabric so it covers those stitch lines. Now from memory, I've cut these fabrics more or less to the size it tells you in the pattern, but you can see how big my piece of fabric is and the stitch lines are here. So they are generous cuts, but when I'm new to a stitch file or a design, I tend to just, cut what they tell me. And then the next time I make this bag, I know that I'd probably be able to use less fabric. So I'm going to position it over all the stitch lines and I'm going to tape it in place with masking tape because I don't want this to move at all because it's obviously on the underside of my hoop. So I'll just move this in so you can see what I'm doing. I'm literally just taping down the edges with my masking tape. So I'm just going to bring it in so you can see the top. And when you're taping from the back, don't press too hard because you can move your stabiliser. So just be gentle. Apply enough tape to hold your project down for when you slide it, back into the machine. That will probably be enough, but I'm just going to put an extra little piece just on either side. So I've got literally 6 pieces of tape just holding this in place, like so. And I'm just going to flip it back over and slide this back into the machine. So I'm not touching anything, I've not touched any buttons, I've not done anything at all. I've literally just unlocked the hoop, slid the hoop out and applied that back piece. So now it's going to stitch again, but what it's going to do, it will leave an opening. So whereas on this one it's gone round twice and completely sealed it, when it starts stitching now, it will leave an opening so that we can flip it inside out, and it will be a double flip, but I'll show you what I mean once we get to that. So I'm going to put the foot down. I'm just making sure that the fabric's all still stuck down properly. I can see it, and I'm just going to say start. Okay, that's it finished. How simple was that? So I'm going to unlock it from the machine and bring it back onto my desk. So here it is. So I'm just going to loosen the hoop and take this out of the hoop. So I'm just going to flip it over and remove all this masking tape that was holding the back into place. As I say, the pattern does tell you that you can add more wadding or batting if you want to, but I don't think that my fabric needs it. So you should be able to see now, because I've got white bobbin fill, that there's a gap here, and this is where you're going to turn it the first time. But before I do that, I'm just going to pull the stabiliser out. So the way I do it, I just like to rip it down to the seam, and I like to hold the fabric back and then just pull it away. And I know that this is probably, you know, a waste of stabiliser using this 8x12 hoop. But I'd rather use the bigger hoop. So if we look at it, as I say, you can see the opening now where we're going to turn it. So you don't want to cut straight across here because you're not going to have enough fabric to turn it. You need to leave a bit of excess fabric here, but I'm just going to flip it over and have a look at the other side and make sure everything looks okay. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to bring in my fabric scissors and I'm going to cut up here and here. First of all, this is just the way I like to do it. So I'm just going to cut up to about 1/4 of an inch, 3/8 of an inch away from the stitch line in a straight line. And I'm going to do exactly the same here. Don't worry about the zip if the zip's getting in the way, because that's all going to be cut off anyway. So again, I've cut in a straight line just to about 1/4 of an inch, 3/8 of away from there. So now I'm going to cut all the way round, you know, close to the stitch, but I'm not cutting straight across here because we need this to turn. So I'm just going to come in with my scissors. Now obviously this is black fabric, so it's not that easy to see, but I'm just going to chop some of the bulk off because I've got zip, I've got thick canvas fabric, I've got wadding. You could do this with a rotary cutter and a ruler if you want. So you're basically just trimming away all the waste. You're going to go right through the zip. It doesn't matter because we opened the zip inside the bag. So when you're cutting away the zip, you're only cutting away the waste. This isn't a very easy fabric for you to see what I'm doing on screen with it being black, but because I've got the white bobbin fill, at least I've got somewhere that I can follow. I'm just going to chop all this off just to give me a bit more room. I think this, because I've got so many layers and all the wadding, this probably would have been easier if I'd have used a rotary cutter, but we're there now. So I'm just coming back round the corner where the stitching is, and then I'm just going to go straight down. So let me just get rid of all this. So you can see I've got all this extra fabric here now, which I don't need, but I do need some for turning. So I'm going to chop some of it away. Probably give myself a good ½ inch as like a tongue. This is going to be where I'm going to turn it. And you can see where the opening is. So the only two pieces of fabric that we need to keep is this piece and this piece on either side of the opening. So I'm just going to get hold of those, and all the rest of this can be cut away. So this can all be cut away, but you don't want to go, you know, right near your stitching again. It'll just help you get rid of some of the bulk for when you're turning it. So what you want to do now is open up where the gap is, try and get into the far corner and flip it through. Now you can clip your seams if you want to, or you could use pinking shears, it's entirely up to you. I'm just going to bring my small scissors in and just get a little bit closer to these seams. Don't want to get too close, but this, as I say, is thick fabric. So I'm just going to get in here and start to turn it out. Now it will come out, you're going to have to take your time. If you're using a thinner fabric, you know, it might turn a bit easier than this, but it will turn the right side out. There's always a stress point where you leave an opening, so where that opening was left, where I've left that extra tongue, will be a stress point, but you know, the pattern's stitched this 2 times on both sides, so you should be okay to flip it out. I'm just going to keep wrestling with this and manoeuvre it to pull it all out. And obviously you've got your zip in there, you've got all your layers, you've got your wadding. So I'm just going to bring in my big ball tool that I use a lot when I'm sewing and just push out the corners. I find this tends to work really well because it's got a nice big ball tool end which you can get in to all your corners with, but it's not sharp or pointy that, you know, it's going to come through the fabric. This canvas fabric's shedding lots of black pieces, so this is what we've got so far. So that's the first turn. So what we need to do now, you can see the stitch line quite easily. So you need to fold this in, because this is where you're going to seal the bag up now. I've got a bit of zip there that I can cut away. So you're going to fold this in. I like to use the stitch line and just give it a good press. And then you're going to tuck the other side in to match, and you're going to seal that up. Now you can either put it back in your sewing machine and sew it, you can hand sew it, you can glue it, you can do whatever you want. I'm going to use some of that iron-on Wonder Web type thing again, because this is the inside on the lining on the side, no one's going to see it. So I'm just going to cut a piece of this permanent webbing to the size I need. Tuck it in, and I'm going to take it to my iron and I'm going to iron it and seal it shut, and then I'll be back. Okay, so this is what we've got now. So now we should be able to pull the zip open at the stabiliser because we left the zip open, and it's just a case of pulling out all this stabiliser now. You'll have a thread which was the guide for your zip, so you can pull that out and just cut it off, and then you'll have all this tearaway stabiliser that you can pull out. And I just like to hold my fabric down and then go around. The needles will puncture holes in your stabiliser for you, which will make it be easy to, you know, rip out. If you've got any threads, just cut any of your little threads. Don't cut the knots because they're holding everything together. Got some more stabiliser here, just on the top. Let me just get rid of all these bits. Just got a last couple of bits of stabiliser here near the zip. So now we need to flip the bag the right side out. So it's all sealed on the side, you know, however you want to seal yours. And then this is the second flip. So again, I'm just going to use my little ball tool and poke out the rounded corners. And that's it. I'm just going to give it a quick press. And there it is. So I've got my little decorative piece at the top that you can just see some of the scissors and the tape measure and the cottons and things. It opens, it's all fully lined, and I've just, you know, replaced it with a regular zip. I've not used the decorative lace zip, which is from the pattern. So for a free pattern, so this now measures, let's just see, I'll tell you, it measures 6 3/4 by about 4.5. So I hope you like the project. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to measure this area, and then in the next video in Canvas Workspace, I'm going to create a cutting file, which I'm going to cut in glitter heat transfer vinyl to decorate the front. I'm going to use this to store my wonder clips in. So that's what I'm going to put on the front of it. So please give the video a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe if you don't already do so. I am trying to get to 50,000 subscribers by the end of 2021. So if you're not already subscribed, please hit that subscribe button. It doesn't cost you anything. It just helps my channel get pushed out to more people so that more people can find sewing or ScanNCut videos. Please give it a thumbs up, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you.